hello everyone, good evening. Before this thing starts, I need to mention some initial comments. And these comments will be about Colin. At the moment I saw Colin, that was a very strange day. It was a regular Zoom meeting. He was driving some car in Scotland. I was in Reykjavik, broken by the Icelandic summer. Anyhow, the moment I saw Colin, I knew immediately that he was the kind of author that couldn't die properly. You know the type. So, this evening might help him a bit. That's the aim. That's why I'm here. I'm here to help. So I already introduced to Colin a number of procedures, very confusing rituals, all coming from my home country, Hungary. And most of these procedures are really demanding, so this must have been a difficult time for Colin. You should think about things like putting some oils on the head, washing the body with water, milk, beer, spirits, dressing the body in white, putting the palms in the position of a prayer, or tying the big toes together. Even putting some rice balls around the body while it's sleeping.
Yeah, and now having endured those humiliations, I am feeling a little bit sort of out of it. I mean, I don't generally in my life, I don't mind humiliation that much, but this was quite taxing. So having gone through all of that, and the toe thing was particularly, because actually I only have 9 toenails. That's just a bit of information for you. I did a marathon recently on film. Now it is time for my sort of favourite part of the process, well, the only part I actually think I'm going to enjoy, which is the winding sheet. And I don't know if you can see, but this is actually embroidered really carefully all the way over this sheet with some of the finest love poetry of the 20th century. There's some work by Kathleen Fraser, there's Bob Kaufman, there's Stephen Fowler, who, by the way, so this is a bit of an aside, I'm sorry, I know we have the ritual to get through, but earlier on when he compared his work to Thomas Chalamet, I thought he was comparing himself to Timothy Chalamet.
Okay, fine. I'm sorry, it was really polite, but why are you talking about the bloody sheet now to them? You know, is it in the script, Colin? No, it's not in the, I mean, the sheet will eventually come, they all know right now, but it's not in the sheet.
If this sheet, if I had my way, this sheet would be sort of shimmering like a soused herring.
Okay, I know, I understand you. But you know, we have a script, and with rituals, it's very, very important that we follow the script carefully.
Okay, so
right, so first of all, we need to ask some questions. Some general questions and then some specific ones. In fact, you all have to ask from yourself here. Are you the kind of author who can die properly? And after you died, can you remain that way? Or are you the type that keeps coming back, haunting your own lines, spreading the air with pre-recorded comments, pre-analyzing your own texts, always knowing what the author thought when writing that line down? A Roland Barthes reference would be nice here, but we didn't have that much time. So let's construct a death for the author that would keep him in the grave for good. No zombie apocalypse, thank you. And it all starts with a sheet.
Yes, the sheet, exactly. And so I was trying to say earlier on, I have been weaving this sheet from mulch, practically, in the north-east fishery communities that I hail from, and of Scotland, by the way. And the history of this sheet is in Highland burial customs, the sheet is actually part of marriage rituals as well as death rituals. So women would weave these sheets, and then they would be presented on their marriage day with their winding sheet. And I wove this, as I say, over what felt like centuries, and prepared, had it there on my wedding day to poetry. I seem to be struggling a bit with the...
Yes, but it's gonna be okay, don't worry. It's gonna be okay, it's your sheet.
So I've got a lie in it.
So now, we have the specific questions. First question, how would you like to die? You can all answer it. Not aloud, please, just in your head. So would you go with some theatrical scenarios? A shot in the head at a bus stop of a grey, smoky post-communist city. Trampled to death by wild horses. Location to be announced later. Head ripped off by a giant gorilla. Why did you go that close? Eaten up by unsatisfied students who you promised to teach how to write poetry even though you know that was a lie.
A lie, you said. Yeah, sorry, a bit slow with the cue there. A lie. My marriage to poetry also felt pretty much like a lie. From the very outset, poetry turned kind of nasty. Like on the when I first presented this sheet, which by the way I kind of did as a king size because I'm bulking. My partner was at that point just before the marriage, and then the poetry became poetry. And,
okay, second question. Second question, Colin. Now we are at the second one. How do you remain dead?
Well, the whole marriage to poetry felt deathly, to be honest. Poetry did things to me that I'd only previously seen in films. Poetry once sort of threw a takeaway wrapper at me and some headphones. Poetry told me I wasn't any good at poetry. Poetry alienated me from my friends and family. Poetry, when I was teaching poetry in Zoom meetings, would yell the C word very loudly, humiliating me in front of students, and the C word wasn't Colin. Poetry became just a kind of daily hassle for me, and poetry wouldn't sort of allow me to express myself in poetry. I find it very hard to live with poetry.
Now it's time to die. Great job. So I also winding sheet. That's fine. You know, in Eastern Europe we don't have that much material. But being rather suspicious towards longer commitments, I never got married to poetry. Instead, I took it as a running partner. So now we are jogging all over Europe. And I have to tell you, poetry is usually very slow.